Hi everyone, in this quick video we are going to see how we figured out this formula to determine the threat source for each one of these rows. So it looks quite complicated, but really if you break it down it's not so bad. Here we're going to use a H lookup or a horizontal lookup, and the reason we're doing a horizontal lookup first is because ultimately to get the threat source we need to look at this tab over here, and this tab has the threats themselves, the threat types, as the column headers, as well as the IP base over here. We'll talk about these numbers in a second. So because we have these as the headers, we are going to want to look horizontally and then down. That's why we use the H lookup first. So what are we looking for? Well, the search key is going to be the threat type. Again, that's the headers we just saw. Where we're looking is this threat sources table in A through I. And now the question is, what is the index? So where are we looking in terms of, if I'm looking at this table over here, then which index, i.e. which row am I looking at? And the thing is, the row has to be a number, but we don't really have any numbers in this table, right? All we have is the origin IP, which we also have over here. And that's why we created this extra column here. That's why I created these numbers over here to give us a reference of the row column we're looking for. Now you notice I use the row function, but you could have just written this out by hand as well, something like this maybe, and it would have been the same. I was just wanted to show you another function you had. It just gives you the current row or the row of a given cell. So once we have this set up and we know that we have the IP base over here, we can do a clever trick. And that's where this VLOOKUP comes in. And what this VLOOKUP says is take a look at the base of the IP, meaning this 141 or 223 or whatever, and then look inside the same table we were looking at before, except this time notice it's going all the way to column J, because that's where those row values are, and then give me the 10th value. Why the 10th? Well, that's exactly, if we're looking at this entire table, including this column J, then we have column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is the 10th column for this VLOOKUP, right? So this VLOOKUP, we're using the base of the IP to look in this column, in this table, in the threat sources tab, in the 10th column, and that's going to give me what? That's going to give me the row number, right? And the row number is going to be one of these. And that's exactly what I needed before to complete this H lookup. So ultimately this H lookup, it's just going to look something like this. 3 or 4 or 2. But this 3 or 4 or 2, it needs to be dynamic. It needs to be dynamic based off of the row of the IP address. Because remember, the threat source is a combination of the type and the IP base. So to generate or to determine what the row is or what the index is for this H lookup, we wrote this VLOOKUP that returns a single number. And by the way, let's take a look at how this looks right here. If I just drop this VLOOKUP and everything else is the same, then you see all it does is return a number, which is great. So let's see if this is right. For the base IP 141, is it row 4? Let's take a look. 141, it is in fact row 4. As well, if we take a look at the base IP 247, is it row 14? Well, let's see, row 14, 247, 14. So this VLOOKUP works as intended, and we use it because it gives us the number we need, it gives us the number we need to complete the H lookup we created in order to determine the threat source based off of the type and the IP. So yes, it's quite challenging, but this is a pretty cool way to combine H and VLOOKUPs and generally get a really good understanding of how these lookup functions work. So hopefully you were able to figure this out on your own, and if not, hopefully this video was able to walk you through that effectively. Take care.